Welcome to this explainer. Today, we are mapping out the ultimate roadmap, the human life journey. We're going to look at how we grow, and I don't just mean physically, we're talking mentally and emotionally. To do this, we're putting two really powerful psychological frameworks head-to-head. We've got the renowned psychologist Erik Erikson and his famous 8 psychosocial stages of development. And we're comparing those to Dr. Thomas Armstrong's absolutely beautiful concept of the 12 unique gifts of the human life cycle. It's a deep dive into who we are, who we've been, and, well, who we're yet to become.
So, I want to kick things off with a bit of a challenge for you. Think about this. What ultimate reward awaits us at the very end of the human life cycle? You know, society so often frames aging as this steady, inevitable decline. But what if we flipped the script? What if we looked at it as a culmination? Keep that question in the back of your mind as we trace our steps from our literal first moments of existence all the way to our final years.
They say life is a journey between two profound physical milestones. It begins with the first cry of birth and ends with the final breath. But honestly, the space between those two moments is where the real magic happens. Every single stage of life holds deep meaning. According to Erikson, each stage presents us with a unique, frictional crisis that we have to solve in order to move forward. But according to Armstrong, the release of that friction is actually a beautiful, unique gift that every single stage offers to humanity. Let's see how these two ideas intertwine.
We begin at the biological dawn of life. I mean, before we even enter the world, we are on a fast track of rapid development. We go from a single-celled fertilized egg in week 1, transitioning into an embryo, and by week 9, a fetus already practicing kicks and movements. Finally, around week 40, the newborn arrives, a tiny human requiring intense round-the-clock care.
Now, when we view this arrival through our two psychological lenses, a fascinating balance emerges. Erikson tells us that from birth to about 18 months, an infant faces their first major clinical crisis, trust versus mistrust. They are entirely dependent, desperately trying to figure out, is the world a safe place? But Armstrong balances this incredible vulnerability with profound power. He notes that before birth, the child offers the gift of absolute potential. Like, they could literally become anyone. And at birth, they bring the undeniable gift of hope to their caregivers, providing this overwhelming optimism that this new life is going to make the world a better place.
As that hopeful newborn grows, they transition into a toddler. Between ages 1 and 3, children experience an explosive leap in physical mobility and language. They are learning to walk, they're learning to talk, and they become these intensely curious explorers, which, as any parent knows, usually means testing gravity, touching literally everything in sight, and somehow always finding the most dangerous object in any room.
During this toddler stage, the psychological stakes change completely. Erikson identifies the struggle here as autonomy versus shame. The child is trying to exert their will and gain independence, giving us the famously chaotic, terrible twos. If they're stifled, they develop a sense of shame. But when this crisis resolves beautifully, we experience Armstrong's designated gifts for this era. We see the boundless vitality of the infant dynamo, transitioning smoothly into the playfulness of early childhood, where kids just manage to recreate the world anew with their innovative play.
That foundational energy propels us right into the rapid, highly social developmental years of childhood. From preschooler to preteen, a child's world expands dramatically. They leave the safe little bubble of the immediate family and have to navigate the complex, often intimidating world of formal schooling and peer groups.
Erikson broke these intense school years down into 2 distinct crises. First, from ages 2 to 6, it's initiative versus guilt. It's that need to discover a sense of purpose and take action. Then, from 6 to 12, the stakes get even higher, with industry versus inferiority. Think back to your own school days for a second. You're being graded, compared, socialized. Children at this stage desperately need to feel competent and successful at tasks without being absolutely crushed by feelings of inadequacy or inferiority.
To cope with all these intense societal and academic pressures, children sequentially develop incredible inner resources. Armstrong identifies 2 major gifts here. First is a rich, inner subjective imagination, which serves as a lifelong source of creative inspiration. Second is practical ingenuity. Older children acquire the social and technical skills that allow them to inventively solve everyday problems. These gifts essentially become their armor and their toolkit for navigating the world.
And this brings us to a stage we all remember vividly: adolescence. Triggered by the biological earthquake of puberty, a teenager is a person between 13 and 19 actively transitioning into adulthood.
Hormones are surging, the world expands yet again, and the drive toward total independence from their parents takes center stage.
During this pretty turbulent time, Erikson says we undergo the famous identity crisis, the stage of identity versus role diffusion. Who am I? Where do I fit in? But rather than just viewing it as a period of angst and struggle, Armstrong points out that this phase is actually fueled by the incredible adolescent gift of passion. It takes fierce emotional, cultural, and spiritual zeal to forge a brand new individual identity. It is literally the engine of self-discovery.
Exiting our teen years, we drop anchor in the longest stretch of our timeline, adulthood. Take a moment right now to consider where you are on this journey. Are you in the early adulthood phase of your 20s and 30s? Are you navigating midlife? Or maybe transitioning into mature adulthood? Each of these phases carries massive responsibilities and really deep psychological shifts.
For young adults, up to about age 40, Erikson identifies the primary tension as intimacy versus isolation. It is the daunting, sometimes terrifying task of finding deep, lasting love and connection just to avoid feeling entirely alone. Simultaneously, Armstrong notes that this period is defined by the gift of enterprise. We use our drive and energy to establish careers, buy homes, build families, and forge community ties. We are quite literally building the structure of our adult lives from the ground up.
Once that foundation is built, we hit a psychological pivot point in middle adulthood called generativity. This is where our focus is meant to shift entirely outwards. Generativity is the ability to care for another. It's the big transition from me to we. Whether that's through parenting, producing meaningful work, or taking on social responsibility to nurture the next generation, rather than remaining purely self-centered.
Erikson called this generativity versus stagnation. Basically, if we don't find a way to give back, we risk self-absorption. To avoid this pitfall, Armstrong suggests we need deep midlife contemplation. And forget the stereotype of buying a flashy sports car to solve a midlife crisis. This is about taking a break from societal scripts to reflect on life's deeper meaning. That contemplation eventually blossoms into a mature adult's incredible gift to society, benevolence. Through volunteerism, mentorship, and philanthropy, mature adults become the absolute bedrock of a healthy culture.
Reaching the age of 65 punctuates a major developmental milestone. In many cultures, this number marks the transition into late adulthood and the traditional age of retirement. It represents a profound shift where the relentless upward climb of career building finally begins to level out and slow down, offering a completely new rhythm to daily life.
Because human lifespans are stretching longer than ever before, more people are reaching the incredible status of centenarian, living to 100 years older or older. This stage obviously involves navigating geriatrics and elderly care, but psychologically, it means carrying the lived experience of witnessing an entire century of global change. That is an absolutely mind-boggling perspective to hold.
Psychologically, this final stage is profound. Erikson defined late adulthood as integrity versus despair. As life slows down, we look back. Can we face our past with acceptance and integrity, or do we fall into despair over missed opportunities? When older adults achieve that integrity, they grant humanity the ultimate gift of aging, which answers our question from the very beginning of this explainer. The gift is wisdom. They become a rich repository of lived experience, ready to patiently guide the rest of us.
Finally, we reach the very end of the timeline. But even here, there is profound psychological meaning. Armstrong notes that those who are dying give humanity one last beautiful gift. By facing the end, they teach the rest of us the ultimate value of living. They serve as a poignant, quiet reminder not to take a single second for granted, and to live each and every moment to its absolute fullest.
And that brings us to the end of our roadmap. As you locate yourself on this grand timeline of human development today, I want to leave you with this final thought. Knowing that every stage comes with a difficult crisis to solve, but also a beautiful gift to share, how will you actively shape your journey? Are you just surviving the challenges of your current stage? Or are you unlocking your unique gift to enrich the world? Really think about it. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep exploring.